It had already been a year since I met a guy. We met through mutual friends. At events, we would always run into each other, but I had never noticed him, and maybe he had never noticed me either. Until there was a birthday party we both went to, and he was there with his group at the barbecue and everything, and I was there too. And that was the first time he came up to me. We started talking, we had a conversation. He was a really chill guy, you know. He already had a car, he had a job, and I was working too, so it was a really calm time. We started getting involved, we started hooking up, and from that first time, it was kind of a shock, you know, it was really nice. We started a relationship about 3 times after we started hooking up. He asked me to be his girlfriend. It was also at a get-together with some friends. There was karaoke going on. He grabbed the microphone and asked me out and everything. Everyone clapped. Everyone was really rooting for us. We were always a very beautiful couple, a couple that really loved each other a lot. It was such a big love that both he and I, we could talk just by looking at each other. It was an overwhelming love. We wanted to be together. We wanted to meet. We wanted to love each other. We wanted, you know, to get married. We made so many plans with each other. It was an extremely intense relationship, but during those 3 months since we were in love, and I say this because now I understand flaws, but there were already signs, like, for example, he had talked about me to his mother, and his mother always treated me with a lot of respect. However, over time, I started to realize that she kind of just tolerated me, that she didn't genuinely like me, you know? It seemed like she made an effort to like me. She still really liked one of his ex-girlfriends, you know? She kept reaching out to his ex, sending her messages, and that started to hurt me. It started to upset me. And his mom was that kind of person, but in front of me, in front of him, she was sweet, she was loved, she would score my goals, she even made the little dishes I liked, you know? So it was really hard for me to understand that actually all of that was just an effort she was making. In the beginning, everything was perfect. Everything she did was for me. She loved me. I would bring her little gifts and treats, chocolates and things I bought. After work, if I saw a blouse or some clothes that I knew she liked, I would buy them and give them to her as a gift. And believe it or not, she was like that with me too. You know, she would tell me about her life. She would give me little gifts. So I didn't understand this behavior she had. Talking to her ex, missing her ex, wanting to talk to her ex. Okay, she had a romantic bond with her ex, but it was something that hurt me, but it didn't affect me that much. Because my boyfriend was actually so in love with me that it didn't bother me. Time went by, time kept passing, and then one day I found out there was an afternoon tea at her house. And when I looked, the people in the afternoon tea photo were like her, my sister-in-law, my current boyfriend's ex, and a friend of hers, the ex's friend, you know? And I was shocked, in disbelief, because since my boyfriend still lived with her, my boyfriend was there, you know? And he didn't tell me anything about it. And that's when a point of conflict started between us, let's say arguments and fights. I started calling him out, asking what she was doing there, why she was there, saying it was unfair and all that. And he was like, no. He went, spoke to his mom and made her apologize to me. His mom went there, apologized to me and said she didn't know that for her. For me, it was such a big lack of respect. But because she had been with the family for a few years and she liked her a lot, but she did that when my boyfriend wasn't home, so I shouldn't worry. And he also told me he wasn't home. He told me that he had gone out to get some things from work. All right, I accepted that story, feeling uneasy and not really understanding. But after that, I started to notice that my boyfriend, in this case, he started wanting to dig into my past. You know? He began asking about my exes, insisting, it's fine for you to talk about it. And many times it seemed like he wanted to throw it in my face, my past with my exes, because I couldn't talk about his ex in this case. It was as if that made us equal, but there was no comparison. I had never brought an ex into my house. My parents never had any contact with any man. He was the first one, so there was no comparison, you know? And our relationship started to wear out. It started to become extremely toxic. We started to fight over any reason. And I kept saying, we're fighting because your mother didn't bless our relationship. Only my parents did, right? Then we ended up having our first fight, our first breakup. And after our first breakup, I decided I wasn't going back anymore because we fought a lot over silly things. So it became an unbearable relationship. And at that point, he kind of asked his mom to be careful with me, with the way she spoke. He apologized to me, asked her not to do things to bother me, but that kind of ended. After that breakup, he suffered a lot, cried a lot, and went after her and cried to his mom. So he cried to her. When we decided to get back together, because we decided to get back together in less than a year, we had been dating for about 8 months and we had our first reconciliation. That first time getting back together was a really big shock. Because first, he had deleted all our photos from his social media, and that destroyed me because I hadn't deleted mine. I had just archived them so I could bring them back later too, you know? So he deleted all the photos, which broke my heart because there were many good ones, including lots with me. He removed everything. Second, he didn't want to, like, on social media, go back to posting stories, posting things with me. We used to post a lot. We always went out and posted a ton, but he didn't want to anymore. So that was eating me up inside, and to make things worse, his mother didn't support me. She didn't support the relationship, even less now. So if she used to pretend she liked me, after that, she started to show that she really didn't. She didn't care about welcoming me there. She would greet me just out of obligation, like, "Hi, how are you?" She turned her face away, barely spoke to me, and didn't ask about my life. She was always very communicative. She always shared things about her life, but she completely changed with me. And because of that, our relationship kept getting worse and worse. Then, when we reached 1 year of dating, after all this turmoil, in less than a year, when we hit our 1 year anniversary, I got an invitation from my aunt to go to the beach with her. She and my uncle travel every year, and she said, "Come to the beach with us." And I invited him to go, but he didn't want to. And it was the first time we were actually, let's say, going to be apart. Because even when we broke up, we talked every day, even though we were broken up, and we stayed broken up for about 10 days, you know? But even that was a lot. We were going to be apart for a long time because my aunt planned for us to stay at the beach for 15 days. There were many people since it was the season. My family and her friends were going. She works at the bank and her coworkers are really cool. So, like, he was supposed to go, right? But he didn't want to go, and he kind of said I could go, like, really letting me go. I was really upset about that. I started thinking, like, he doesn't like me, he doesn't care about me. If it were him, I wouldn't let him go to the beach without me. I'd want to be with him, you know? And I saw that our relationship was just going from bad to worse. I went crying, I went suffering, you know, I was suffering like, wow, he let me go, he didn't want to go with me. Oh my God, what pain, what suffering. That whole thing, I was glued to my phone. In the first 3 days, I couldn't enjoy that wonderful beach house. A lot of people from other parts of Brazil came to that beach house my aunt had rented. It was like a gathering of her friends, you know? And like, I already knew she did these get-togethers, but I had never taken part before. But since I was already an adult, she invited me to join. She said, "Let's all go there and have fun." She just said that if I went with my boyfriend, we shouldn't argue because her friends weren't used to that. So we had to show maturity. And she even said it could be like a social experiment. Like, let's see if you two can behave around adults, you know, because you're not adults yet, even though we actually are adults. She wanted to talk about maturity, and I even tried to talk to my boyfriend, but just the fact that he wasn't going, my aunt already said, great, great. And I was like, okay then. We arrived at a wonderful crowded house. For the first 3 days, I didn't even glance at the pool or beach. It had an infinity edge. It was an infinity pool where you could take a picture and get the sea in the background. That movie-like thing, that wonderful house, everything was so cool. I couldn't put my phone down. I kept calling and video calling him, wanting to know where he was and who he was with. Watching everyone's stories, watching his friends' stories, his moms, his sisters, his cousins, his aunts, his grandmas, even his dogs, just to know where he was. And like, it was really stressful. Then on the third day, he wouldn't answer me. He kind of disappeared. He ghosted me, but I cried so much, and I stayed in my room all day crying. Then my aunt went there, along with another friend of hers, who's younger, closer to my age, but a little older, still to talk to me and all, and I was just devastated. I was a mess, you know, and my aunt tried to talk to me, but she didn't have much patience for these stories about me and my ex. She went there and left me crying in the room, but that friend she introduced me to sat at the foot of the bed, started talking to me and said, "Girl, how old are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm this old." She said, "Come here, your hair is beautiful, girl." And she started talking to me. She started complimenting things about me that I never stopped to notice. She started talking about how long my hair was, how well moisturized it was. And yes, I did take really good care of my hair, so it was very moisturized. You know, that I smelled good. She said, "Girl, you smell good. Have you noticed that?" Then we started joking about how our skin smelled, things like that. And she kept talking. "Have you noticed the guys who are here?" And I was like, no way. If there's one thing I can't do, it's look at the guys who are here, like my ex and my boyfriend. I don't know what she said. Forget about that guy. You know what you're going to do? And then she started saying, you're the one who's going to take charge. He's the one who should be worried about you. Being at the beach in a beach house with a bunch of successful people, a bunch of amazing people. We'll be here 13 more days. Are you really going to stay locked in and suffer the whole time? You'll regret it in a year. You know why? Because in a year, maybe you'll have woken up and realized that this relationship of yours might not go anywhere. Because in under a year, you two have broken up, gotten back together, and fought so much. Is this what you want? He didn't even want to be here with you. She gave me a lecture and spent about 40 minutes messing with my head. She spent about 40 minutes just talking and talking. Then I took a deep breath and thought, you know what? After the lecture I got, I said, I'm going to put on my bikini, and I put it on right away. She said, look at this. My breasts were a good size and I didn't have implants. She asked if I did, which is a big compliment, right? I said no and was surprised. So hot, sexy, let's go, I don't know what. And then she started making a drink for me. So she made a caipirinha, right? Because the guys were making them too. We got in the pool. Obviously my mind was there, but she said, no, you're going to give me your phone number and we're going to save it. And I was like, guys, I was anxious. I was in the pool drinking caipirinha, anxious, Sometimes I would shake, people were talking, and I was thinking about my ex, and she would say, for me, it's normal that you're thinking about him, right? And then I feel like crying. She said, it's normal until your brain adapts. Since you're not with him here, it's going to take a few hours, just focus. And then a guy started being kind of really nice. A friend who was there, he saw the situation and he started getting closer to me and talking to me. And he was like 5 years older than me. He did exactly the college course that the college course that I think is amazing for a man. And he was handsome, tall, good looking, very smart, spoke other languages. Because everyone there worked with banks, with investments, with things from that world. And I've always been really passionate about organization, accounting, those kinds of things. So I would talk to him and he was very attractive, but I was still thinking about my ex. But he was very kind, very polite. He would ask what I wanted. He treated me really well. He really cared about me. I began building new friendships with both the girl and the guy who I bonded with most. Since about 20 people lived in the house, there were a lot of residents, right? All of them, all friends from college, when they met from work, it was something really nice. Then the next day when I was going to bed, the girl came to return my phone. She came to give my phone back. Guys, when I got my phone, I was dying to talk to my ex-boyfriend and everything. When I opened WhatsApp, I was shocked. He hadn't even received my last messages. Then I started thinking, he must have lost his phone. He blocked me. Man, what's going on? And then I had another anxiety attack. I need to talk to him. I don't know what to do. I took a deep breath, grabbed my aunt's phone, tried to call him, voicemail, and I said, his phone is turned off. The girl with me offered hers, saying, do you want mine? Try it. It was about 10 p.m. and I had spoken to him that morning. Even she started thinking, right, he can go a long time without his phone, huh? Interesting. I picked up, called, voicemail, and she said, girl, let's get another phone and call again. If the phone really is off, you'll forget about it because he's not worried about you. He doesn't remember you. He doesn't care about you. And here you are thinking about him. You're going to call this one last time and you'll only talk to him again when you get back from this trip. And I was so I said, okay, fine. But of course I thought tomorrow I'll text him again, right? I took someone else's phone, called, voicemail, and she said, let's just chill. But I was feeling so bad that some people, a little group, had gone to sleep and another group had woken up and was at the pool. I started drinking, started dancing, started having fun, started letting loose. And everyone was filming and making videos and I was dancing and I don't know what else. And I looked hot, I looked pretty, but inside I was destroyed. I said, you know what? I'm not gonna suffer. I got wasted. She gave me a bath, put me to bed at 4 a.m. I passed out and then woke up. The next day at noon, I didn't know where my phone or my head was. And then this guy came, brought me medicine, made me breakfast, treated me really well. We had to go to the store to buy some things. He asked me to go with him and I went with him. We stopped by the pharmacy to take advantage and buy a few more meds that I needed for my head and also for my stomach. And he started showing himself more and more, being more present. And little by little, I started leaving my phone aside, My friend said, every time you go out, put your phone down and don't pick it up. And I realized that everyone kind of did that. People there really connected with each other, so no one spent much time on their phones talking or working. It was really like a vacation for everyone, And I would leave my phone with one of them there and just not pay attention to it. In short, 10 days had passed since I arrived and about 8 since I got carried away and drunk. A week confined with that guy being treated that way was a privilege for me. I imagined he was like that he was amazing and all, because he had a penis and because he wanted to get with me. But maybe after he had gotten with me, he wouldn't be the same anymore. And then I started thinking, you know what? I even talked to my ex during those 8 days. He told me his phone had run out of battery and he hadn't seen it. That was the lamest lie in the world. I avoided arguing because I didn't want to stay on the phone because drama or have an anxiety attack around others. So I just said, fine, we'll talk later. So I started leaving my phone aside, and that's when, without even realizing it, or maybe realizing it, I started to see that I was really into that guy who was at the party, the one who was staying at the house with us. He was really nice, he was really funny, and he dressed really well. There was one day when we all went out to dinner because my aunt had hired a woman to cook for us, but that day we went out to eat. He dressed elegantly and wanted me to join him. He insisted on paying for my meal instead of my aunt. And my aunt was loving it, okay? My aunt was loving it because my aunt, she kept saying, wow, he's the guy, wow, this one, wow, this one. She kept saying that to me. So kind of everyone was pushing me towards him and also pushing him, saying, look, she's pretty, look, she's so-and-so's niece, she's cool, go for her. And we got together. And then from the 10th day until the 15th day, we did everything happened. It happened at a little show, at a small bar where everyone went. There was a live show with rock, Brazilian popular music, those kinds of things. By the beach, and there we started drinking, we started dancing. I was already acting like a couple with him, so we made out with that kiss with a lot of built-up desire. For days we had been making out and getting close, but nothing was really happening. And when we went to bed, it was amazing. It was explosive. It was wonderful. Everything was so good. And we spent 5 days together. And I felt like I was on my honeymoon. I was in a perfect place, in a wonderful place. I was really living my life there. After that, of course, the day came for us to leave. I didn't even want to look at him anymore. I didn't want to look at my boyfriend's face anymore because I was in love with another man. By the way, he lived in a completely different city from mine. The possibility of dating him would also be kind of impossible, but at the same time, he would come to my city for work so we could see each other sometimes. So I thought it was better to be single and be with him from time to time and at least feel wanted and loved than to be with someone who was putting me down. When I arrived, my ex came over to my house and he was acting like that. He missed me, kissing me, hugging me, feeling my skin, saying that I smelled good and everything. And I just looked at him like that, and he was saying that he missed me so much, that this trip was great, it was wonderful. We could see how much we love and miss each other, but I realized I didn't feel anything for him. I just didn't have the courage to say it. I didn't have the strength in my voice to turn to him and say it like that. I no longer have feelings for you. I cheated and fell for someone else who valued me, which showed me my worth. I just couldn't find the words to say it before. And then he would come and he wanted to be with me. And I swear, guys, we were together, we had sex, and I was thinking about the other guy. Afterwards, I felt disgusted for being with my ex-boyfriend. I told myself I can't have a relationship with him. I started to pray because he'd come to my house being affectionate, romantic, and complimenting me. And then I went to pray and I would say, God, what do I do? Lord, help me, Father, help me. But then when I would question him, and that day, he would say, oh, my phone ran out of battery. So believe me, the battery died, seriously, but I was playing with the guys, so I didn't even pay attention and all that. And I was not knowing what to do. And the guy would send me messages. I had to lock the conversation, wow, a lot of things changed. And he started to notice that I was different, that I wasn't affectionate or loving anymore, because I was always very affectionate and loving. I was the one who liked him, who chased him, was crazy about him, and he felt he'd lost that. Maybe that's why, but I don't know if he fell in love with me. But to sum it up, the story is over. I was at home just relaxing and talking, and I had invited some of my friends over too, so we could watch a movie, eat popcorn, and just hang out and talk at my place. The girls came over. And then one of my friends who's really wild, she dances funk, goes out partying, and wow, she really goes crazy with the guys. She was talking to me and all, and we started talking about this trip, and then I started telling her how it was. I didn't really tell her much, about what happened, about me hooking up with another guy. And then she was like, oh, I see, but like this breakup was good for you guys, right? So you could see who he really was and all that, but you two are still together. Then I said, no, we didn't break up. And I was just like that. And she was like, kind of surprised. And then she started telling me about a party she went to. And then she started talking about the club, about how the night went. They rented a country house and everyone went there. And that there was no internet at this country house. And since there was no internet, she lost contact with her guy. She was telling the story about her guy. She said she had a fight with him because she didn't have internet. So she couldn't reply to him, couldn't send him messages, but she got so crazy, totally out of it, high, wasted, that she didn't even remember her phone. When they got back the next day from that farmhouse they had rented, she went to talk to her guy and everything, and then they worked things out. And then she said that it's a good thing my ex and I had broken up, because not talking to each other would have been a problem for our relationship. Then I was like, oh, he was at the farmhouse. And she said, but did you know or not? I said no. And she said, but you guys are broken up, right? And I was like, wait, hold on. So does that mean I traveled and he went to the farmhouse? Then I said no, that we hadn't broken up. She was like, oh my God, my friends are going to kill me, because the guy she was seeing was his friend. So we were going to fight because of that and everything. She shouldn't have said anything. He should have told me. I told her, girl, you're my friend, not her. He said, you two broke up. You went to the beach with your aunt and you'd be offline for 15 days. He said the breakup would be good. What was she saying, though? He didn't hit on any women, but he did use a lot of different kinds of drugs. That he was drinking from cans, that he used, that he smoked, that he drank, that even stuff went up his nose, So, I felt really disgusted at the time. But I didn't say that, since I know her friends, and almost everyone do that. She said no, she said that at most it seems like she smokes, smokes and drinks, but the crowd, really, everyone does it. And he got super crazy. He stayed up all night. He got really wild. And there was even a girl there who was really into him. But he got so out of it from using drugs that the girl just gave up and didn't want to either. I realized there was a girl who didn't want him, but I went and ended up with him. So that was it. For me, that was the peak and the reason. Whether I wanted to or not, a light went off in my head that now I had a real reason to break up with him. I realized he lied to me, that he went to the party, that he got wasted on drugs. And then at that moment, I started saying, God is so good, right? He does everything right. I asked him for help, and he brought this party to my house with these friends to tell me. She's telling her story that matched up with mine. It was really good, that part. And then I invited him over to my house later, after the girls had left, so we could talk, and we started talking. I told him that I knew everything, that I said he didn't want it anymore, and then he started crying. He made a whole scene. He made it all so difficult. He was like, for God's sake, don't leave me. But she said, I didn't get with any other woman. Why are you breaking up with me, guys? The breakup. It doesn't have to be just because someone is with another woman, It has to be because your behavior doesn't match up. Now think about it. While I was at a country house with successful people, being treated extremely well by a guy who is extremely mature and committed to his own things, I was the one acting like a teenager, drinking, but there weren't any drugs or any kind of intoxicants. At the party, at my aunt's beach house, while he was at a country house like that, full of drugs, honestly, it just wasn't aligned with me, And on the way back from the trip, my aunt had asked me. She asked if I liked her friend, and I said yes, that it was amazing. I was in love, and she told me that she really wanted me to go because she always thought that he and I were a good match. Even if we didn't date, we would make a beautiful couple, but she also didn't want to say that to me. In the situation I was in when we were going to the beach house, because I was extremely attached to my ex. I needed him to disappear from my life for that to happen. Anyway, we broke up, and that's how it is to this day. Every now and then he still sends me a message, because I'm not dating the guy who's my aunt's friend. But we talk a lot. Every time he comes to town, we go out, we have fun, we have dinner. I've been to his city too. We went out, we had fun, And I think now that if I'm going to have a relationship, this guy has raised my standards. From now on, I'll only get involved with men who treat me the way he does, or better, never worse. And sometimes I keep asking myself how I had the courage to date my ex-boyfriend, He's a guy that people still say they see him frozen at parties. He was even getting involved with people who were no good, hanging out with some girls who were totally not my type, really badly dressed, really trashy, so it had nothing to do with me. And for me, that was a blessing, And I really like to talk about this, to share about it, because sometimes we're so deeply rooted in a toxic relationship we love so much. And we believe that this person is going to go back to being the prince from the beginning of the story, but he never does. He just keeps turning more and more into a frog, more and more into a frog, more and more into a frog. So either you're going to kiss a real prince or you keep kissing a frog, hoping that one day he'll turn into a prince, but he never will. Hi Maquetes, how are you all doing? I thought this story was cool. Be the aunt who introduces her niece to a nice guy, not the one always asking, where are the boyfriends? You shouldn't date just anyone just to stop your aunt from asking. That's not right. Even before she went on that trip, got involved with a man and cheated in her relationship, she was already doomed to fail. It was a relationship that was going from bad to worse. And apparently she was really emotionally dependent on this guy. Opening up and not wanting that for her life anymore, waking up and seeing what she really deserves, while men keep repeating the same old story. And by the way, just because you got out of emotional dependence doesn't mean the guy did too, sometimes. He doesn't show he's dependent on you because you're so attached to him. He doesn't have to prove he's attached to you too. But from the moment you let go of that, he starts to realize that you've let go and he shows emotional dependence. If you're not strong enough to get rid of this, you end up embracing it and you both go back to the same relationship you had before. A lot of dependence, a lot of suffering, a lot of betrayal, many traumas and wounds that come with it. Sometimes children and things like that are involved. So I'm glad that you managed to get out of that relationship, that you were able to see your worth as a woman and also see value in a man. Because many times we come out of a relationship so traumatized that we think all men are no good, that no man is worth anything, and we end up betraying these men more and more. But no, you were able to see that there are good men, men of value. So you can understand that this is the kind of man you want, you desire, and that you will attract into your life. If you like this story, send me your story at HistoriaScanel and comment below what you thought of this video, share it, kisses, and see you in the next video.